Good morning and happy Wednesday. Welcome back to the Daily Grind. I'm your host, Chump Change. This is live and recorded. For those of you that might be new here, what we typically do is go over crypto news or news in general in the space. I update myself, bring you guys along for the ride. Let's see who's in the house, then we'll get into this. Mr. Steven Cicero, good morning, sir. We got Leo Lustig, Andrew Masad, my man, Mr. Max Voltage. Good to see you. He says, good morning. I've already been at work for an hour. For an hour? You're behind me an hour. What time did you get to work this morning? Dude, you must have got there at like 5 a.m. That's terrible. Man, Deborah, good to see you. Nick K, good morning. Good morning. Alexander, Black Hat Team, Carl Coat, Triple Nickel. Good to see you, buddy. Everybody else I may have missed, I apologize. But let's get into it. Bitcoin, look at this, 67,643 bucks. I think October decided to show up to the party. Look at this. Ethereum at 2610. We have Solana at 155 bucks. LTC, look at this, $71.12. This is because apparently there's been a company that has filed for a LTC ETF, and you guys know that the miners, when you mine LTC, you're also mining Doge, merge mining. That's up to 12.5 cents. So Hadouken to both of those coins. That's awesome. We have XRP over here at 54 cents. This one got filed for an ETF as well, but we all know nobody cares about XRP apparently, because it just goes down with every bit of good news it gets. So I don't understand it. Over here, Sui, we got $2.05. We got Aptos at $10.05. ETC is at 1957. Let's see, anything else jumping out at me today? Not really. Render over here is down 3.73% to $5.41. Fetch AI, actually they changed this, looks like ASI Alliance or something now their name is, but anyways, it is $1.44 if anybody cares. Shiba is up 1.33% today. We have BNB up to 596 bucks. Ton over here is up to down to $5.22. BitTensor over here 589 bucks, down 3.79%. Interesting. All right, let's jump over to crypto bubbles. Let's see, biggest earner of the day seems to be Hex. Man, this one's been going back and forth. You guys could be playing this one. I'm gonna glitch out. Hopefully my stream doesn't crash again. It crashed yesterday, I don't know why, but Hex 24.6%. It's kind of crazy. I feel like it's been going back and forth between like 20 up, 20 down, like every other day. So I'm gonna watch this one tomorrow, but 24% up on the day to a penny, over a penny and a half. It's 1.7 to be exact. Let's see, Pulse Chain over here is up 10.7%. We have Dogecoin again 9.6% up on the day to 12.5 cents. Hadouken again that. Litecoin 6.5% up on the day, looking great again in lieu of the ETF filing. So we're gonna have to see what happens there. We have Mew over here 6.9%. Cat in a dog's world. What is this bullshit? These meme coins, man, they've been killing it this whole cycle, to be honest, this entire bear market, and I wonder what's going to happen in the bull run. I really wonder what's going to happen if Dog with Hat and all these other ones are going to pump. I just hope Shiba pumps. I've been holding like a shit ton of it forever and I want to get rid of it. Let's see, they came out a while ago. Yeah, I know it did. Yeah, not for me. It's crazy. It's in the top 100 coins now. It has a $768 million market cap. Like, why? Why? You guys have nothing better to do with your lives than buy meme coins. Crazy bunch of degenerates here. That's about it though, nothing really jumping out at me. All right, flashbang, fear and greed index, we got a 73. Bruh. We don't want it to be that high. That's really high. That's not good. In my opinion, that's not good. We want it to stay neutral-ish while the price goes up, because then things can have a slow grind upwards. When this needle moves too fast, it always rips back down, and I don't like that. But again, 73 is really not too terrible, but over 75, that's when I'm like, all right, we gotta pull back or slow down, you know what I mean? But either way, we were at 65 yesterday, 73 today, and last week we're at a 49. So this needle's all over the place right now. But Bitcoin did jump quite a bit in the last 2 days, right? It went from like 60 something, like low 60s to 67 now, so it's crazy. All right, top 10 coins by coin market cap over on CoinGecko. We have Bitcoin, Ethereum, Tether, BNB, Solana, USDC, XRP, Lado Staked Ether, Dogecoin, and Tron in 10th place at a $13.8 billion market cap. Man, Dogecoin's got a big leap ahead of that. It's at an $18.3 billion market cap. God damn. Good for Dogecoin. That's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. Toncoin in 11th place at a $13.2 billion market cap, and Cardano at a 12th place at a $12.7 billion market cap. Just kind of checking things out down here. I'm still solo mining BCH, and I have like 3 more days, and then it'll be like straight 2 months of no block that I've hit on my S19K. I'm gonna let it go for 1 more month. I'm projected to hit a block within 3 months. If it doesn't happen, then RIP to me. that's pretty much how I'm gonna look at it. All right, we got Litecoin again doing pretty well in 26th place. Nice. At a $5.3 billion market cap, doing pretty good. Kaspa still being held down. Actually, I didn't even say anything about Kaspa when I was reading the prices. Kaspa's at 13.4. It's actually just like, I don't know, it dropped down 13 cents. It's just kind of been floating sideways, even though it did get on Grayscale's was it Grayscale? Yeah, it was Grayscale's list of currencies under consideration, right? I guess we're gonna have to see. Under consideration really isn't anything, so hopefully it gets picked. That'd be pretty awesome if it was thrown on their sheet. But $3.3 billion market cap right now. We know this thing got up to like a 4.2, might have been a little bit higher, I can't remember, but 4.2 ish was where it was, so we're down about $1 billion, which is pretty terrible. But we'll see what happens. The bull run hasn't started yet, so is what it is. Or maybe this is just the beginning of it. We're gonna have to see. I think after next month we'll be killing it. All right, moving on to the mining segment of things. You guys know I like to timestamp this stuff. We got the AL1 Pro over here on ASIC miner value, the 16.6 terahash unit, making 3466 a day. 3466. Bruh. That's really bad. What happened to lithium? Lithium taking a shit? Or did more miners come online? Yeah, I thought that's a 20% for a second. It said 2% down. It's $1.31. Yeah, I mean, people are just trying to get their money back, man. I get it. They're just selling it every day. I mean, every time I get a payout, I sell it too, so no hard feelings. It is what it is, but that sucks. These things, remember when they were projected to make over $1,000 a day? Bruh. Stop the cap. Never in a million years did that happen. We got the AL1 15.6 terahash unit over here, 3256 a day. Crazy. We got the AL3 15 terahash unit making $31 a day, just about. We got the L9 17 gigahash unit over here making $19.93 a day. Man, if this news pops off for Litecoin, right, it's gonna drag these script miners up super high. I wonder if they'll be able to get into first place. I wonder. It'd be pretty interesting. It'd be nice. Max says LTC versus Kaspa is getting closer. Stop the cap. Like DJ would say, keep that same energy, Max. Keep that same energy. I know that made you smile. That's why I said it. L9 16 gigahash unit over here making $18.76 a day. These things are man, the L9 is killing it, dude. I hope the L7's doing well. Let's see. The L7 9050, you guys know I got this thing down at Terra Hosting. Shout out to them if you're interested in hosting. Links in the description. But I got this thing down there making $7 a day, just about $6.95 to be exact. Freaking hell yeah. That's sick. Perfect. This machine, man's been killing it. It's been killing it. They were talking about it last night actually on Terra Hash Tuesdays, Hawk and King. And yeah, it's dude, it's been like one of the best machines, like hands down best machines. Andrew Masad, you have an L7 too? That's awesome. He said he loves it. Yeah, dude, it's just like so consistent. You know, knock on wood, nothing in crypto is consistent, but you know what I mean. Like it's been really consistently making money. It's never been like in the red for me anyways, unless I'm like mining here, because then 30 cents, what isn't in the red at 30 cents per kilowatt hour? So is what it is. The AL2 Lite, what is this? 2 terahash unit. Oh, this is that new box miner they just made or came out with. $4 a day. Man, it's kind of shitty though. Bruh. We got the KS5M over here, 15 terahash unit. This thing only makes $33.61 a day. It's kind of terrible. That is kind of terrible. Now this is the one that Mr. Mining King was talking about last night on their stream as well. He just bought a whole pallet of Z15s, old Z15s. I don't know if these are the ones. Correct me in the chat if you guys were there. I don't know if these are the ones. 420 kilohashes. I think he got different ones, older models, but these things make $2 a day. $2.27 a day. I don't really know. Is this what he got? He got the Z15s, right? He's like mining Horizon or something. I don't know. You guys let me know if that's what he was talking about. I think that's what he was talking about, but I don't know anything about that project, to be honest. So I wonder why the project went from like $163 or something all the way down to like $8 where it's at now. I think it's Horizon. I don't know the ticker to it. Is this it? Zen? Yeah, this is it. Yeah, this is it right here. It went from $8.35. I mean, from $165 $8.35. I wonder why though. I wonder if there's like a, I don't know. I wonder what's behind this project. If anybody knows anything about it, let me know in the chat. But yeah, I don't know. He's getting into those, so it's kind of interesting. I want to see what happens. I want to see what happens there. Let's see the ALBox 2 Plus 1 terahash unit. You know, I got this thing in the solar trailer. $1.48 a day. Not too bad. Could be worse. X16Q Pro. Look at this thing. What the hell? A Q Pro. 2 gigahashes, a little over 2050, I guess. 520 watts. $1.45 a day. When the hell did they come out with this thing? I feel like I missed this one, but I have the X16Q, and this thing's definitely, it's 1.95 gigahashes, only making $1.08 a day. Bruh. These things are pretty bad. All right, I'm gonna move on. I don't feel like looking at ASICs anymore. Actually, you know what? No, I like the pain. So I'm gonna look at my S19K. Oh, that's not bad. It could be worse. I'm only losing 56 cents a day today. Bruh. It was $1 and like 75 cents, so it could be way worse, but it's all right. It's all right. Okay, over here, GPUs. Let's see. Looks like a Leo still top of the charts. 3090 Ti. Clore. Dude, you know what? That Clore video I put out, the whole Clore platform, their fleet program going into HiveOS or integrated with HiveOS, where crypto miners can actually put their stuff on like a AI. It's like AI when you're not mining type deal. Like if somebody rents your rig, they can rent it and it halts your mining, and then when they're done renting it, it'll go back to mining. It's super neat actually, and I guess Clore's been doing pretty good since. I only own a little Clore. I don't have much at all. I should have bought some more though. Let's see, 7 days. Yeah, so honestly, when did I dropped the video this weekend? So it was like the 14th, 15th maybe. I think Panda and King dropped his as well. But yeah, Clore's been doing pretty decent since. It's pretty good. So we're gonna see what happens there. I think Max Voltage is dropping a video actually coming up soon, so I can't wait to see that one because he has some good pointers gonna be coming up. And I know I did say it. I did say Max is gonna be dropping a video. Did you guys hear me? Max is gonna be dropping a video on his channel. I think. Don't let us down. Today was the plan, Max. Can't say tomorrow's the plan. Today was the plan. I was expecting it today. I'm just kidding, Max. I'm just kidding. I know you're busy. I know you got work. I'll believe it when I see it. I love you, Max. I'm just messing. All right, moving on. Looks like a Leo. Really, just mine a Leo if you want to make money. Just sell it. Just sell it. Mine it and sell it. In my opinion. Do what you want though. All right. News of the day. Canary Capital files S1 for Litecoin ETF. This is what I was talking about. Only days earlier, Canary filed to create an XRP ETF.
Stop the cap.
You want to see what XRP is at? Oh, it's in the green now. All right, god damn it, you make me look like a liar every time. XRP 54 cents. What's happening? You know, this one gets an XRP, it goes red. This one, I mean XRP, this one gets an ETF and XRP goes red. LTC gets an ETF and this one like starts mooning. It's not mooning, but a couple percent up versus percent down. That's why I'm saying XRP is like a freaking soft porn. Gets you excited for nothing every single time. But yeah, this is it's pretty cool. Asset manager Canary Capital, if I can speak today, has filed registration documents for a spot Litecoin exchange traded fund or ETF with the United States regulators, according to an October 15th documents. So that's I'm not gonna read this whole thing, but yeah, you guys get the gist. If this this comes to fruition, that's gonna bring on, you know, mass adoption within the ETF space, which is pretty good. I mean, yeah, we want things to be decentralized, but this is good overall for people getting back into Litecoin. It gives them a reason to get it. And to be honest, until Kaspa, Litecoin is like the quickest thing to use and the cheapest thing to use, right? I mean, it still is the most adopted cryptocurrency that you can use for payments and all that stuff. So if Kaspa ever flips it or comes into competition with it, that'd be pretty awesome. But until then, listen, I'll take Litecoin taking a W. All right, I want to watch this. You guys know that Mr. Elon Musk in this booster rocket went up to space and came back down and landed successfully. It was like a freaking 11 million pound rocket or some bullshit. So they talked about this yesterday, about 20 hours ago. I want to see what they got to say over here. But SpaceX just made every rocket on the planet obsolete. Let's see what they got to say over here in Yahoo Finance. Guys, that like button. Appreciate you for hanging out. Let's do it.
SpaceX successfully landing its Starship rocket yesterday, marking a milestone for the company. Our next guest calling it one of the most important moments in space history. For more, we're bringing in Rick Tumlinson, founder of Space Fund. Rick,
isn't that insane? That thing like just closed in on this freaking 11 million pound rocket.
It is great to see you. So let's start right there, Rick. You know, we all watched SpaceX over this weekend, and I did see you post on X, Rick. You said, listen, this is a historic moment. How come? Walk us through it, Rick.
What we're witnessing here is, and thank you for having me, is, it's sort of the combination of the railroads, the steamships, airplanes, all in one. Like in 100 years from now, people are going to look back at this period of time as sort of when humanity breaks out into space. I don't know if you're a Star Trek fan, but this is when...
Imagine how strong those tabs on this thing must be to hold this whole thing up by these arms. Like, that's insane.
Vulcans start looking at us and go, hey, maybe they should join the Federation, right?
That's so cool.
What I mean by that is the idea of reusability is critical to what it is we want to do in space. What you just witnessed was the equivalent of a skyscraper with a smaller skyscraper on top of it, fly to space, launch the smaller skyscraper, fly back down, and get captured by two pairs of giant chopsticks. It's reusability. The fact that this happened almost begins to make every other rocket on the planet obsolete.
And so now what, Rick? What does come next?
Well, they're going to do a bunch more flights. You know, I've been down there where they launched this thing, and the little Starship vehicle that was on top. Last time I was down there, were like 7 more of those. And their approach is to build it, break it, learn from it, build it again. So whenever your viewers see these things blow up, understand that what they're doing, what they say in space is we got good data. They're going to learn more. They're going to get better at it. Elon will probably then take that once it's starting to fly, or SpaceX will. They'll probably start flying.
Oh, that's cool. So it breaks apart right here and it launches the top part. Dude, that's insane. That's so cool that they can reuse this part.
Their communication satellites, their Starlinks. Then if it blows up, it's not a problem. They'll get good at it, develop what we call a heritage. And then they'll be able to start getting into more complex payloads. One of the other big things is they need to be able to refuel in space to be able to go to the destinations like the moon or Mars.
Who would you argue, Rick, poses potential competitive risk to Musk at this point, in either U.S. or Europe, or both?
Nobody.
Not so much Europe. In the U.S., it would be Blue Origin, which is Jeff Bezos' company. He's been moving slow but steady. He's coming up. There's a guy named Peter Beck and his company Rocket Lab, which is not a billionaire financed company. They're coming up really fast. Peter comes from New Zealand. He was a dishwasher, worked his way into the field. There's an American company called Firefly here in Texas. There are a bunch of them rolling up. And then there's China. China has, at last count, roughly 4 companies that are working on reusability right now. So they're coming up fast.
You know, venture investors, Rick, are much more interested in this space now, excited about this space. I'm curious, how much credit do you give Elon Musk for that?
I give him a lot of credit. He came in with this goal. Single-handedly, he wants to go to Mars and get people there. And he is very obsessed and driven by that goal. Whereas the aerospace industry is like, don't rock the boat, keep the money coming, don't do anything too radical. And so what he's shown us is that just by, remember the old Apple commercial, thinking differently, you could do something that's incredible. But again, the entire community that I know of, the commercial community, the private enterprise, we're moving in that direction, all of us. So once we get past it, Robert Heinlein, the old science fiction writer, said, once you make it to orbit, you're halfway to anywhere. So this is the big one. We get this working, the entire solar system opens up.
And finally, Rick, what about these headlines? I saw reports that California rejecting bids for more frequent SpaceX launches. I'm curious what you made of those reports. How much you think that was some type of criticism of Musk himself went into that decision making?
Yeah, that's a touchy topic. I personally don't I don't share many of his political views right now, but he is a friend. And I think that that's a challenge. It's a real challenge. When he just took over Twitter, I tweeted at him before it became X. And I said, dude, you just got one job, and that's get us off the planet. 1,000 years from now, that's all anybody's going to care about. Did you get us off the planet and break us out? We need to see that happen, and we need politics on both sides to get out of the equation. Both sides. Let's just go.
Rick, great to have you on the show.
Yeah, good luck getting people to get along. Anyways, Amazon ramps up AI chip race. Let's see what they got to see over here on CNBC television.
All right, meantime, the mad dash to develop and deploy AI chips intensifying. Amazon now linking a new deal with a startup called Databricks, in which it'll use Amazon's custom AI chips to train the AI model. AI training AI. Kate Rooney is here to hopefully make sense of all this and how it could spell a new chapter in the AI race as part of today's Tech Check.
Brian, great to see you. So yeah, this is key to Amazon's long-term strategy in AI, at least. It's looking to compete with NVIDIA for some of those custom semiconductors by offering a cheaper option. As part of this 5-year deal with Databricks, Databricks is going to have to, or has agreed rather, to use Amazon's custom chips. They're called Trainium AI chips. They're going to power the training, hence the name, of Databricks AI models. Databricks did buy Mosaic ML last year for $1.3 billion. The big draw here to Amazon, and those chips, it's all about price. Consensus in Silicon Valley, at least, has been that Amazon's chips, they're not quite as powerful as NVIDIA's, which has really been the gold standard. But that's also expensive. So Amazon's Trainium is seen as sort of the discount version out there. Amazon does say that customers pay 40% less than they would if they used other hardware. And Amazon has leaned on this partnership route and this partnership model. They struck deals with SAP, with Anthropic, which they're also an investor in, to train AI models. Dan Ives earlier telling me that Databricks and this deal, it's another stamp of approval for their chips. He expects a lot more partnerships with software companies to get some of the chips out there. Amazon, hardly the only alternative to NVIDIA, though. You've got AMD, Google, Microsoft, Cerebras, all developing their own AI chips. And then the strategy, it's key to that long-term competition here in AI. You can think of it as sort of a marathon race. So OpenAI, Microsoft, Google, they might have won what you would see as like sort of the first 10 miles of that marathon with large language models. Amazon, it's been in the race, kind of chugging along, but this infrastructure layer with custom silicon and data centers is really how I'm told they could pull ahead in the back half of the marathon, Brian.
Another
Interesting. I've never heard of that. Trainium. Why Trainium? Let's see. AWS Trainium is the machine learning ML chip that AWS purpose built for deep learning DL training of 100 B plus parameter models. Interesting. Each Amazon Elastic Compute Cloud, Amazon EC2 TRN1 instance deploys up to 16 Trainium accelerators to deliver a high performance, low cost solution for DL training in the cloud. Crazy. Dude, we got a lot of nerds in this this day and age. That's what is happening right now with Amazon. That's crazy. All right, tech executives are betting big on nuclear energy. Let's see what they got to say over here. Guys, that like button, please. I hate asking, but YouTube makes me.
Oil prices taking it on the chin today. Look at that, down 4.74% for WTI. It's the first time that we've seen that since the end of September. Pippa Stevens joins us now to tell us why we're seeing such a decline.
Yeah, heavy losses today, Contessa, and that's because it looks like Israel will not target Iranian oil infrastructure, with 3 senior administration officials telling NBC News that Israel plans to limit its retaliation to military targets. Oil was bid up as the market waited to see how Israel would respond, fearing that Israel might destroy Iranian oil facilities. But traders are now unwinding the risk trade and are back to focusing on the fundamentals. And the global market is still oversupplied and potentially facing even more barrels coming back on the market from OPEC beginning in December. Still, CIBC Private Wealth's Rebecca Babin told me the market is being short-sighted in believing that just because energy infrastructure might not be a target this time, that we're in the clear moving forward. If there are more tit-for-tat responses, oil facilities could once again be in focus. WTI has all but given up its gains since Iran fired ballistic missiles at Israel on October 1st and on the verge of breaking below 70. We're at 70.37 right now.
Let's switch and talk a little bit about nuclear power and technology, or big tech getting involved in it. Nuclear power has sort of gotten back into the conversation.
Yeah, I mean, this has been a really big trade over the last year, and it comes because tech companies are in a little bit of a bind because of AI's energy demands. You know, they've made these commitments to transition to zero emissions, and now they all need more power than anyone imagined to compete in the AI race. By 2026, global electricity use from data centers is expected to double, consuming the same amount of power as Japan, according to the IEA. So the solution is a nuclear power. It can generate electricity without any pollution, but it's expensive to get a plant up and running. Some have also faced project delays and ballooning costs. But with big tech buying the power, even if it's at a higher price, that could jumpstart new builds. Google's deal with Kairos Power is just the latest example. We also had Microsoft teaming up with Constellation Energy to bring 3 Mile Island back online, while Amazon bought a data center from Talon Energy that's powered by the Susquehanna nuclear power plant. Prominent tech players are also backing nuclear. Both Bill Gates and Sam Altman are chairman of nuclear companies. Jeff Bezos has funded a fusion company, and as Jensen Huang has called nuclear a, quote, integral part of the AI future.
Is the regulatory hurdle lessening then? Is the not in my backyard pushback lessening?
So there are two factors there. There's first the not in my backyard, the NIMBYism, and then there's the regulatory piece. On the NIMBY front first, nuclear power, support for nuclear power is now at the highest level in more than a decade. A lot of that is coming from millennials and Gen Z. Gen Z especially, you look on TikTok and Instagram, and there's a lot of prominent backers just because they don't have necessarily the same association of what can happen with a meltdown. On the regulatory front, that still is a question because these SMRs, the future, the small modular reactors, they still have to get those permits from the NRC. Kairos has a demonstration project they're building in Tennessee, but not the full-scale project yet. And then also these SMRs...
Like a proof of concept project or more than that?
It's more than that. So they're building it and the NRC approved it. Then the NRC has approved TerraPower, that's Bill Gates' companies, their construction permit, but not their nuclear reactor permit yet. So this is a long timeline, 2030 at the earliest.
You've got AI fueling the need for more power, but you've also got electric vehicles, which certainly are going to be a part of the future. And to rely on electric power to power, let's say it's a third of the auto fleet in this country eventually, that's going to take a lot.
And Bitcoin mining, by the way.
And Bitcoin.
And also reshoring. I mean, data centers are the latest and kind of the grabbiest headline in terms of power consumption, but it was already growing. And remember, utilities forecast their load growth, their facilities, a decade in advance. And now all of a sudden, it's kind of, every single day there's a new forecast of just how much power AI is going to use. And so that's why these companies are now going directly to some of the nuclear companies.
Yeah.
Pippa, thank you.
Interesting. Somebody asked if she was on speed, and yes, kind of. I had it to 1.25. I'm speeding up all these videos just so you guys know, so we can get through them. But that's crazy. That's crazy that they're trying to figure out other means for electricity, which I understand. Obviously, electric is it's very high in demand for everything that's going on. I wish the electric cars, I wish they were able to create some sort of solar panel, stacked solar panel that would just be able to take in a shit ton of sun, and you can make the entire roof a solar panel. That way it would just charge while it's outside. I know it's makes no sense for the companies to do that because they can't charge you for the gas, right? And, the electricity to fill it up. But it would be super useful, and it would save just so much on everything. But whatever, it is what it is. We'll figure it out, I'm sure, eventually. Crypto World, CNBC television, Trump-backed crypto token launches. I don't know anything about that, but questions around its utility remain. Interesting. I don't think this should be allowed, to be honest. I don't think that's cool, but whatever. We'll see.
All right, let's jump to the first of our two conversations.
Speed this up.
Donald Trump's crypto project, World Liberty Financial, issued the first of its tokens today, and thousands of investors raced to scoop them up. I spoke with Kathleen Breitman, CEO of Tezos, about the project's launch and what she thinks it means for the presidential race. So the Donald Trump-backed crypto project, World Liberty Financial, launched its token this morning, and almost immediately we saw hundreds of millions of tokens sold and about 3,000 holders, according to Etherscan. What's your reaction to this launch and its significance, given a presidential candidate is backing this project?
Well, the fact that a presidential candidate is backing this project is really its only differentiator between that and about 10 dozen similar DeFi lending protocols. So, if you're going to have a differentiator, you might as well have a guy who used to be president be that.
Any reaction to adoption so far?
Well, I mean, a lot of the DeFi protocols that have been proposed and launched over the last few years fall under what I've called Ouroboros finance for the last 5 years. Basically, they're self-referential almost. There are tokens that exist to be traded that create tokens that exist to be traded. You can lend, buy, and sell them. A lot of what the cryptocurrency space has done over the last few years, despite billions of dollars in R&D, is basically just figure out ways to financialize other blockchains. So this falls into a great tradition in the cryptocurrency space. They didn't really do much that any other project on Ethereum would have done. But obviously getting the Trump family to sort of endorse this is a huge mark for the Trump campaign to court basically the cryptocurrency community, which unfortunately the Harris campaign has chosen not to do. So unforced error by the Democrats to basically alienate a large constituency in that respect. But it's a good sign of confidence that the Trump campaign actually means what it says when it wants to court cryptocurrency holders.
I do wonder how much you think this means for the general public, because only accredited investors could buy into this project. But Trump is framing it as part of this push to crypto supporting voters. Do you think that actually translates to those voters?
Yeah, in the sense that you don't see anything even remarkably similar from the Harris campaign. I mean, I suppose it's probably maybe a hedge from the Trump campaign to only do this with accredited investors. But still, it's a better show of relations than the Harris campaign.
we're still missing some details about how this project will work long term and what the benefit will be to investors beyond the utility of WLFI. Is there anything you'd still like to see in terms of details from World Liberty?
I mean, I'm about as unimpressed with the details as I am from every other DeFi project. So in the sense that like this is as unremarkable as what's been going on since 2021. In fact, like it's quite a stale proposal, but for the fact that the Trump family is involved. So for me, looking at this, like I have no aspirations for a lot of these things to actually materialize into something that would do financing in the sense that like, you know, you have to finance an activity or, you know, some sort of end goal. But unfortunately, a lot of what DeFi has become is like this very recursive game. So really the broader takeaway I have is essentially that Donald Trump has decided to court a community that the Harris campaign has decided not to. And it's really a pity because there's really no reason that cryptocurrency had to be as politicized as it has been over the last few months. But really, that's been my big surprise from this 2024 campaign is that cryptocurrency would become such a heavily politicized issue.
Last question for you real quick. In terms of actual changes that could be made by these candidates, actual promises on the campaign trail that would materialize into fruitful changes for the crypto community. You know, this summer, a lot of people were really pleased about what Donald Trump was saying and on the energy front in terms of other things that he was saying about the composition of the SEC and how he would change that were he to take office. Something that World Liberty Financial has undermined a lot of progress that he has made in terms of this being more of a self-serving endeavor. That's how some people have characterized it in terms of the fact that it's still very unclear what this project will actually do and what utility it might serve to the wider U.S. public. What would you say to that critique?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're campaigning, right? Like they want to get elected. And, you know, the cynic in me just says that, you know, folks will say whatever they need to say in order to get you to the voting booth and check yes for them. I think that it's an unforced error by the Democrats to have alienated the cryptocurrency community, but you also can't blame them for writing off the cryptocurrency community, which has been in power or been around for 15 years and has struggled to cobble together even a modicum of something that looked like a lobbying organization until like last year. So, you know, it's a horribly disorganized group of people in some ways. And I think the Democrats wrongly assumed that that meant that there was a sort of an anti-crypto vote. But in reality, there's a lot of people who have made a lot of money in the cryptocurrency industry, and their inclination to vote with their purse is at an all-time high. It's a tough economic environment. And it was smart of the Republicans to at least rhetorically capture that at a great detriment to potentially the Democrats' campaigns.
Okay, next up, Securitize announced it's partnering with Zero Hash to bring USDC conversions to BlackRock's BUIDL blockchain platform. The hope is to drive more institutional adoption. Crypto World's Jordan Smith spoke to Securitize CEO Carlos Domingo about the development and what adoption of BlackRock's platform looks like 6 months in.
Carlos, thank you so much for being here. I want to talk about this new announcement. You're bringing together a new integration with Securitize and Zero Hash to let institutions convert USDC to invest in BUIDL. Walk me through this announcement and why the integration of USDC is so important.
Well, since we launched BUIDL, we had already added the reverse functionality. So crypto companies that are holding BUIDL can actually redeem against USDC. As you know, stablecoins is a huge market, over $170 billion, and it's an important way of being able to move BUIDL within the crypto ecosystem at crypto speed. But we were missing the other way around, which is like the ability to be able to invest in USDC, and that obviously has different complications. And we have announced today, as you know, that we have partnered with Zero Hash to be able to take USDC and then convert it into US dollars to ultimately invest in the fund, and then issue tokens in the BUIDL fund to the investors that deposited the USDC.
I want to talk about trends in BUIDL in just a moment, but if we could focus on stablecoins for a second, you talked about the size of that industry. How do you see stablecoins rising in importance among institutions? Because generally, I feel like we're seeing this resurgence and talk around stablecoins and how people are using them. Are you seeing that environment come into focus right now, especially from institutions?
Well, certainly, stablecoins is, you can argue, is probably one of the things in crypto that has product market fit, right? It's a very clear use case, which is take dollars that are inefficient to move around and then convert it into a token that is back one to one to a dollar, and then being able to move that dollar at crypto speed and in crypto rails 24/7. So we see stablecoins as a growing market. There's a lot of new players coming out. Of course, there's like two giant players dominating the 90% of the space, but I think that there's going to be a lot of new players entering as well. And overall, the market, I think, is going to grow. And in the last few years, it's grown actually faster than the overall crypto market.
Talk generally about what adoption has looked like of the BUIDL fund, how much interest it's seeing among institutions.
Well, if you think about like why stablecoins are important, they're tokenized dollars, right? But if you think about how a lot of the institutions use dollars in the real economy for what is trading, posting for collateral, or treasury management, they actually don't hold dollars, right? They hold treasuries, US treasuries, which is a dollar equivalent, but it earns a yield in a safe way, right? So that part of the market has not existed in the crypto economy, or it has been very small. So BUIDL is essentially a tokenized treasury fund that is equivalent to a dollar. It's obviously not a tokenized dollar; it's a security, but that gives you a yield based on the current Fed rate. So since we released BUIDL, first, I think it has stimulated the overall market. We've captured more than 50% of the growth. We're currently sitting at a record $550 million out of around $2 billion. But compared to the stablecoin markets, the tokenized treasury markets is still very small. And our predictions are that, tokenized treasuries are going to grow faster than tokenized dollars, just because this is a reflection of what happens in the real economy, where treasuries are actually bigger than dollars, right?
We've talked about some of the catalysts building adoption for BUIDL. I also want to ask about potential headwinds, and mainly, I guess, what comes to mind for me is regulation. Concerns around SAB 121 and things like that. Do you see regulation as a headwind for this project at all, or are there changes that you're hopeful about in terms of getting institutions on board?
Well, first, this product is a security, and we follow, securities regulations in the US and other jurisdictions where we've issued BUIDL. So from that perspective, we don't expect that the regulation is going to be a problem for the product. The product, it's solid from a regulatory perspective. Of course, there is other things from a regulatory perspective that we like to do as a broker dealer in the US. We like to do custody of securities in a simple way. We like to be able to hold the stable coins, to be able to, deal with them against BUIDL. And there is a number of things that, today they're not a problem because we don't have them, but hopefully with a more, favorable regulatory environment, we'll be able to get approvals for them and be able to do more things, not just with BUIDL, but with any other tokenized asset. From a regulatory perspective, in June, I think it was one of the important milestones in the industry because the US Congress held a hearing on tokenization, which I had the pleasure of being one of the participants. And I think that's a very important step forward into putting tokenization as part of the regulatory discussion and the policy discussion in Washington, because even though, as I mentioned, today, we do have a regulatory framework where we can operate, but we'd like to actually be able to do more things. And hopefully those things will come in the future.
Sweet. All right, moving on to videos of the day. Let's see over here how to prepare for the next Bitcoin price surge from Swan Bitcoin. Guys, the like button. Appreciate you for hanging out. Let's do it.
Bitcoin's price has been sideways and choppy for almost 3 months now.
I'm gonna speed
and
this
many
up.
of you are asking, when Moon? With explosively historic ETF numbers, increasing institutional and nation-state adoption, and the TikTok next block of programmatic scarcity, you may ask, how is Bitcoin not well into the 6 figures yet? Today, I'll dive into the unique market dynamics of Bitcoin as we explore the rule of 10 days, and how to prepare yourself for the volatility to come.
Actually, speaking of when Moon, we're at 68,000 Bitcoin. Hadouken. Perfect. It's amazing. Nice pump. All right, continue.
Welcome to Bitcoin Daily. I'm Hurley, Director of Content here at Swan, and again, I'm covering for Dante while he's away on vacation with his family this week. Now, we've seen several comments from new subscribers asking why the Bitcoin price has been sideways for so long. After an absolutely explosive February and March, where we saw the price nearly double after the ETF launch, we've since cooled off significantly, and we are now chopping sideways and consolidating under $70,000. So what gives? Why is the price so crabby, and what will be the catalyst for the next big breakout? We'll get into that in a second, but first let's look at some notable news for the day. First off, there's no secret the spot Bitcoin ETFs have been absurdly successful. And just to give some context to this statement, this is from Eric Balchunas, a Bloomberg ETF analyst. Only one ETF in history reached 20 billion in assets in under 1,000 days, and it was the JP Morgan Equity Premium Income ETF, and it did it in 985 days. IBIT, the BlackRock spot Bitcoin ETF, is just a few $1 million away from the $20 billion mark, and it's only been available for 137 days of trading. With now 11 straight days of inflows across the ETFs, IBIT will likely reach this milestone in the coming days or weeks. We're still waiting on official inflow numbers, but it's looking more like IBIT is going to surpass GBTC as the largest holders of Bitcoin across the ETFs. Now to some unfolding news that we talked about yesterday. Semler Scientific stock is up a whopping 36% since announcing the purchase of $40 million in Bitcoin for their company treasury. Swan CIO Hafiz Aguri says, pre-coin or public companies take notice. In 10 years, companies like Apple will need to have a very well thought out explanation on how they missed this trend while being immersed in the tech sector. As Preston Pish has said, we are in the early stages of an all-out speculative attack on a totally overvalued stock market. Michael Saylor and MicroStrategy clearly have a huge head start, but companies like Semler Scientific and Metaplanet out of Japan are just the latest to catch on. What happens when this trend becomes blatant and we get all-out corporate treasury FOMO? In another developing story we talked about yesterday, Donald Trump is reportedly in talks and exploring Bitcoin to address the ballooning US national debt if he's elected. This is similar to what independent presidential candidate Robert Kennedy Jr. proposed last year in his rough plan of using a basket of commodities, including Bitcoin, to backstop the US debt. It's really interesting to see Bitcoin and the US debt problem becoming more and more talking points in the upcoming election.
So they're saying back it up, not pay it off. I think he mistakenly said we'll just pay it off with Bitcoin, and that's not going to happen. But the backing the US debt with Bitcoin, that's just a little different.
It's just the very beginning of where I see the Bitcoin game theory leading, and that's nation-state adoption FOMO. Here's a list of the current nation-state holdings of Bitcoin, with the US and China leading the pack. Imagine what this will look like in 4 years' time. So after all that bullish news, let's get back to the price. Why has it been so boring and sideways for the past 3 months? Well, there might be light at the end of the tunnel, because notorious bullcrab Dr. Jeff Ross had this to say: the pieces are falling into place for the next short-term exponential run higher for Bitcoin. The only thing still missing is the liquidity tailwind. Once this trend changes, buckle up. So when will this next liquidity tailwind take us on the next ride up? Your guess is as good as mine, but if this is your first cycle, heed this advice. Short-term price action in Bitcoin is noise. It's always best to look at long-term indicators like we talked about today in all investment assets, but especially Bitcoin. And as we've talked about many times on the show, the long-term indicators of Bitcoin are very bullish. But let's talk about the market dynamics of Bitcoin and its trademark volatility. Bitcoin price historically follows a rule called a rule of 10. What this means is that the majority of Bitcoin's yearly gains happen across just 10 days. If you miss those days, you miss out on most of Bitcoin's returns. This has been a trend since 2013, and it seems to be happening again in 2024. This also means that most of the year, Bitcoin's price is sideways and down. But on those 10 best days, the price often goes parabolic. This is a prime example of why you do not want to trade this asset, unless you like losing your money and going insane. Just buy, hold, buy more on the dips, and enjoy the ride. I love this clip of James Lavish giving his overview of his short-term outlook of Bitcoin this year on a recent episode of Swan Signal Live.
Over the course of this year and next, we're going to see a lot of institutional investors get their head around this and start establishing 1%, 2%, 3% positions in Bitcoin, using these ETFs. And some of them will, especially family offices and smaller and hedge funds, perhaps smaller institutions, will get their own ability to buy Bitcoin without having to use the ETFs, which will just expand on that. And that will mean that they're gaining great comfort in it and understanding around it and getting comfortable with the risk of actually owning it themselves. So, but I think that that's going to continue. And so we're going to see this kind of trickle right now of institutions. We're going to turn that's going to turn into a kind of a stream and a flow, and then a steady flow, and just like a steady flow of a river of money that's coming into the space as these institutions get their head around it. Because like I said, they're going to take a 0.5% to 1% position. They'll stare at it on their sheets every single day until they decide whether they want to sell it completely or make a full position of 2, 3, 4%. And that's where we're headed. And so if you think about it in those terms, just go back to first principles. That just means that more money is coming into the space, that Bitcoin's price should rise accordingly. And to whatever multiplier you want to put on it, we've all talked about multipliers, but whatever you want to put on it because of the liquidity that's there now, I do believe that Bitcoin is going to crest the six-figure mark. It's going to be over $100,000 at some point later this year. That's my belief. The only caveat to that is if we do run into a hard downturn economically here, which I believe is a distinct possibility. It's a distinct possibility that we have some sort of event here where you have a washout of some sort of financial or perhaps an insurance or something institution that wipes out and takes down a number of institutions with it, or threatens to in an act of contagion. And in that case, I see us having a kind of a steep drop off and then a V recovery, because again, go back to the other first principle is the treasury market must stay liquid, and they will print to make sure it does. So if it does dip down from here and we have a sharp drawdown, I believe that would be a buying opportunity, because I do believe that the Fed and the Treasury will come back to the rescue and print more money, and they'll print more than they ever have before in multiples of it, because they have to keep this thing liquid. So that's the only caveat. That's the only question. And how long that takes, when that happens, anybody's guess. And I do believe there will be volatility in Bitcoin, but I believe that volatility will continue on the upside. And that's why I'm so excited about the opportunities ahead.
Interesting. Shout out to Swan Bitcoin for that. All right, Mr. Crypto KJ, thank you for this link. Flashbang. Decrypt over here. Elon Musk's Tesla just moved $765 million into Bitcoin to unknown wallets. Tesla has moved the bulk of its Bitcoin to new wallets through there's no immediate suggestion that Elon Musk's car company is selling. So let's see. Nearly all of Tesla's Bitcoin is on the move after 2 years of inactivity. So that's probably why Bitcoin is surging in price right now. Very interesting. All right, moving on to Anthony Pompliano. Do not spend your Bitcoin. Let's see what he's got to say. I'm going to bump this up as well. Let's do it.
If you hold dollars, everything around you gets more expensive over time. Your coffee gets more expensive. Your house gets more expensive. The clothes that you buy, when you go out for a night to a Yankee game or what, everything gets more expensive. When you hold Bitcoin over the long run, everything gets less expensive over time. Your purchasing power increases at a faster rate than the rate of inflation. And therefore, literally every single good around you gets less and less expensive. If I said to you, if the root cause of poverty around the world is the fact that there are billions of people who earn economic value every day, they leave it in cash, whatever their local currency is, and their government devalues that currency, and so they fall further and further behind. They can't get ahead. The wealth inequality gap widens, and these people get punished. But there's a solution. They simply can save that economic value in a different currency. That currency can't be devalued. It can't be created out of thin air. It's not controlled by anyone, and it's going to protect their economic value and their purchasing power. All of a sudden, it's not very hard to see a world where maybe this one asset could actually lift people out of poverty, could actually have this global impact that would change the lives of billions of people. Now, there's a lot that has to happen between here and there, but I think that's part of the promise of Bitcoin and why so many people are excited about it, is they say to themselves, wait a second, is this a root solution to a problem that has been around for centuries? You can go all the way back to ancient Rome or anywhere else, and people were devaluing these currencies. They were constantly trying to figure out how do we steal value silently from the people to enrich ourselves. Bitcoin is an asset that you can treat as a savings account. You simply continue to save in it, and you don't have to worry about what is it going to happen over the next week, month, year, etc. Now, one of the things that people look at that and they say, wait a second, but it's volatile on a day-to-day basis. Yes, but in the same way that one Bitcoin is worth one Bitcoin, if you go back and look, one of the best examples of this, in 2016, the median home in America cost 664 Bitcoin. Today, it costs 6 Bitcoin. So what ends up happening is in dollar terms, we actually saw about a 50% increase. It was like $250,000, $300,000. Now it's over 400,000. Right? I think whatever it is, about 40, 50% increase in dollar terms for the median home between 2016 and 2024. So 8 years, 50% increase in that home. How many people's wages went up 50% or more? Probably not as many.
Not a lot. And I honestly have no idea how kids are going to be able to afford houses these days. It's crazy.
In Bitcoin terms, there was a 99% reduction in the price of the median home in America priced in Bitcoin. Bitcoin literally made housing more affordable. And so when you think of it in those terms, what it does is it requires you to break the mold of thinking in dollars and now think in terms of Bitcoin. And so if you hold dollars, everything around you gets more expensive over time. Your coffee gets more expensive. Your house gets more expensive. The clothes that you buy, when you go out for a night to a Yankee game or whatever, everything gets more expensive. When you hold Bitcoin over the long run, everything gets less expensive over time. Your purchasing power increases at a faster rate than the rate of inflation. And therefore, literally every single good around you gets less and less expensive. And so that is something that we haven't had before. And I think that...
Real quick, in 2015, by the way, there was a guy that turned down $13 million in Bitcoin for his house. So he really didn't turn down... Oh, sorry. No, he did. He turned down $13 million, and today it would have been worth $3.18 billion. That's what it was. That's crazy. Here, I just Googled this because I watched a short yesterday from Lark Davis, I believe. And yeah, it was 2015. He turned down $13 million Bitcoin offer for his house. Imagine that. He turned down $3.18 billion in the grand scheme of things. It's fucking crazy.
That's really what is driving so many people to say, wait a second, this Bitcoin thing, if it works, this thing could really be special. And so far so good, but let's wait another 50 years and then we'll decide, was it successful or not.
Yeah, Crypto KJ, he's a real chump change for sure.
Housing comparison is crazy. The
99% reduction.
That is something I've never heard before. I mean, it makes sense. Obviously Bitcoin's price has gone up a lot.
Another way to think about this is in 2016, Bitcoin was a couple $100 to maybe $1,000. I think it started in the beginning of 2017, if I remember correctly, it's maybe like $1,000. Let's just use 1,000.
That's like the guy that bought the pizza for like 10,000 Bitcoin. You know what I mean? It's again, yeah, hindsight's 2020, exactly. Black Hat team. It's nobody knows, you don't know where that would have went. It could have went to zero and the guy could have really shot himself in the foot. So I mean, I get it to a point, but like, I don't know. The trend's your friend, I guess. So it's not.
You could have bought $6,000 worth of Bitcoin and held it for 8 years. Your $6,000 would now buy you a U.S. median home 8 years later.
Yep.
And so you think about that. If you would take that same $6,000 and put it in cash, you might not be able to buy the door for the house in today's terms, right? Like, who knows? And so I think
he's not wrong.
Once people start to realize this idea of protecting the purchasing power and everything getting cheaper around you, it completely shifts your view of how to think about where am I putting my economic value. Stocks obviously do very well. There's things like gold and real estate, they do well as well. But something like Bitcoin, this idea of it being a asset that not only protects but grows your purchasing power over time is something we really haven't seen before. And I think that's where Bitcoiners have done a lot of work in terms of trying to educate people on why is this different.
So would you say a good approach or, for investors that want to get involved in Bitcoin, is it just dollar cost averaging like you would to a stock?
I really think of this as a checking account, a savings account. And, in the traditional system, you put dollars in your savings account, you try not to touch them. Then you have your checking account and you got an investment account. I think that a lot of people use that framework to understand, I get paid, my W-2 salary, taxes get taken out, have my after-tax dollars, where do I put my money? I need living expenses in my checking account. I have a savings account because I like to have an emergency savings fund and a little bit of extra cash. And then I've got an investment account that I like to go buy stocks or commodities or real estate or whatever. To me, what is going to happen and what is already happening is that people are going to realize I get paid my salary, they take the taxes out, I have after tax dollars. I'm going to put some money in cash into my checking account so I can pay my living expenses. I'm going to put money into my digital savings account, which is Bitcoin. It's going to do a fantastic job protecting my purchasing power and increasing it over time. And then I also, I want intellectual stimulation. I want to make some investments as well. I don't expect people to put 100% of their savings and investing in Bitcoin. I actually think of it as it's just a savings account. Buy some, sit it in there, you're good. You still want dollars. We live in a dollar economy in the United States, right? You go buy your coffee. You're dumb if you're using Bitcoin to buy coffee in the middle of Manhattan because you're going to get taxed and you're losing out on the future appreciation of that dollar or that Bitcoin. The dollar is going to lose value over time. So you should spend the thing that's going to lose value and you should save the thing that's going to gain value. And so then you look at the investment account. Well, people are going to go buy stocks. They want diversification. They want safety. Going back to the conversation about the Wall Street folks, they want risk. The average American doesn't want to go seek risk. The average American wants to know, hey, if I work hard, I spend less than I make, am I going to have enough money to be able to live the life I want to live? And you know what? If I can use my investment account to make a little bit extra money, that'd be fantastic. But I don't have time to stay in tune with what's going on. CNBC, Bloomberg, Fox Business, read 10Ks, go on Twitter and understand what's going on there. What's the latest, greatest investment strategy? What's the Fed going to do? Right? Well, oh my God, China liquidity is increasing. That must mean that there's going to be this knock-on effect to the U.S. Oh, the election's coming. What are the two? They don't think like that. Most Americans just say to themselves, you know what? I want to take some of my money, I'm going to put it in the S&P 500. Warren Buffett told me, never bet against America, and I'm just going to let this thing compound. And so they're still going to do that. But if Bitcoin can serve as that savings account, that alone would be a pretty, I think, kind of epic innovation and advancement for a lot of people's personal finances.
That is such a good analogy, the savings and checkings. That's
Well, it also goes into the crypto world where people are like, is Bitcoin going to be the only asset? And what I say is, traditional finance industry, you have a checking and a savings account. If Bitcoin is a savings account, stable coins are your checking account. People want to spend fiat currency that is going to be worth less in the future. It's still a dollar. Yeah, it's in this digital form, but it's just a dollar. And so you still want to spend the dollar, you want to save the Bitcoin. And so this whole idea of like, spend your Bitcoin, to me is insane. I never want to spend Bitcoin. Why would you ever want to spend your Bitcoin? Right? And so, yeah, sure, maybe we get to a point at some point in the future where all fiat currencies have died, everything's priced in Bitcoin, it's like hyper-Bitcoinization, and then you spend your Bitcoin because there is no future appreciation of Bitcoin, it's just one Bitcoin equals one Bitcoin. That's not the world we live in today. Is that going to happen? I have no clue. All I know is today that the Bitcoin that you hold is going to be worth way more in the future. If you spend it, it's like an idiot tax, right? You are literally doing something that is stupid. Don't do it, especially in the United States where it's not only about future value, then you get taxed. And so it's just checking and savings. Your new digital savings account is this Bitcoin thing. Whatever percent of your net worth you would normally put in your savings account, well, put a little bit of it in Bitcoin. Have an investment account. Have a checking account, right? Just use timeless investing principles, but rather than have your quote-unquote savings sit in an asset, dollars, in a savings account that pays you 0.3% or whatever they're paying these days on a savings account at a bank, in a currency that is going to be devalued at 25% over 4 years, maybe you should try a different currency.
Yeah, that's a good point. Well, shout out to Anthony Pomp. That was actually a really good words of wisdom. All right, last but not least, huge Bitcoin news signals higher prices coming. Must watch. Higher prices are here. 68,000 Bitcoin as of right now. Perfect. I think it went down maybe $100 or so, $200. Why is that doing that? There we go. All right, back to Altcoin Daily. Let's do it, guys. That like button. Appreciate you for hanging out.
The Bitcoin price continues to rally higher, gaining momentum, spurred by heavy institutional accumulation. BlackRock, Fidelity, etc. Their clients are actively buying regulatory catalysts into 2025. I'll share this with you. But also just looking at technical indicators, prices rallying in anticipation into this golden cross. This is something we literally prepared you for 8 days ago. I even made...
Real quick, I do have to say, shout out to Max Voltage for being right on the price of Bitcoin. Perfect. I couldn't let you go without being noticed, Max.
A video called Bitcoin and Crypto Holders. It's happening in the next 10 days. Remember, Bitcoin is about to make a golden cross. This is when a shorter term moving average, like the 50-day, crosses over a longer term moving average, like the 200-day, signaling a trend change, signaling momentum to the upside. Of course, the bigger question is now what happens next? Is now the time to take profits? Well, one thing to note that is fundamentally a bullish catalyst for Bitcoin into next year, that SEC chair Gary Gensler is gone, no matter who's elected.
Gary Gensler has been the single worst regulator in the history of crypto imaginable. And so the good news is, and this was basically good news once Biden dropped out of the race, whoever Trump or Harris pick is going to be better than Gensler. And in a way, because the crypto community has done a pretty good job on the politics, not only is Trump actively seeking their support, but Harris is as well. And so we know that we'll get someone better than Gensler, and hopefully we'll start getting favorable policy.
Of course, it does ultimately come down to the policies of the next administration's SEC chair.
Talk about the favorable policies. What are like the one or two that are the most problematic that you hope to get?
Well, I mean, the most important thing would be who actually regulates crypto itself. So there's been this sort of turf war in Washington between the CFTC and the SEC over that. I think everyone on the crypto side of it really prefers the CFTC, and we're regulated as a commodity and not a security. But ultimately, to me, the thing that Gensler has done that I have found almost offensive is the unwillingness to tell the crypto industry what is and isn't legal. You know, it's one thing to say, okay, this is not okay, this is okay, and we can fight about whether or not, you know, we agree. But to just say, like, do what you're going to do, and maybe I'll put you in jail, maybe I won't, like, that's un-American, right? And so, you know, whether it's margin lending or anything else, I really think more than any one specific policy, it's just A, being treated with some basic respect, and B, just having information and predictability.
Also, let's talk about altcoin catalysts, the latest news with AI altcoins. But is this golden cross over? Is the rally over? Well, I know a fair amount of you are trading on Margex. Me personally, as I'm learning, as I'm...
Nobody's trading on Margex. Just shilling this company. God damn it. Whatever.
Continuing my journey, I had such conviction the day I put out this video that the day it happened, I immediately opened a long position. I actually think I set up a long around here and then immediately dumped, but I still had conviction. And it's never bad to bank the profits. Remember, the golden cross is a lagging indicator, meaning by the time these moving averages cross, if they do, the rally has already happened. It rallies into it. And Altcoin Daily will never be one of those channels that say, hey, I know what the Bitcoin price is going to do tomorrow, right?
Stop the cap.
Every video they tell us.
Those are fake gurus. Those are scammers in some sense. That's how you get in trouble. But the 1.49 million subscribers who follow every day understand I'm just sharing my journey. I'm just sharing what works for me. And remember, a Bitcoin golden cross is typically a lagging indicator. It makes sense to me that we bounced off this little resistance channel to maybe try again. I absolutely do not think this golden cross is done, right? Until the 50-day moving average crosses over the 200-day moving average. That's when it's done, historically speaking. Link down below and use code ALTCOIN if you want to check out some of the bonuses. But never be too greedy not to bank profits. And looking at the price of SWI price soars to new all-time highs. What's next? Well, obviously it's taking a massive correction today. I sort of think for the next several weeks, we'll see it correct because it did go up so far, so fast. We also saw this with other quality L1 protocols like Injective, which rallied hard at the beginning of the year. Actually, this one did correct and then did have that second rally. And while I do think Injective has plenty of room to grow in the future, corrections like this are expected if you go up so far, so fast. We're seeing the same thing with Solana now, the bullish consolidation. But let's not forget why investors and developers are choosing SWI. This is what Grayscale is educating their clientele on why SWI has value.
The other thing is you have to have a very strong financial ecosystem. Liquidity begets more liquidity. So SWI is literally top 10 for a chain that's only 14 months old, top 10 in terms of TVL. That's total amount of value locked in DeFi protocols. And the thing that's unique in SWI is there are decentralized finance primitives that you can build on SWI that you just can't build anywhere else, right? I mentioned something around intent before. SWI allows you to basically coordinate up to 1,024 individual user intents with a single transaction and one approval, which is unique. Other blockchains are required to keep click and approve per transaction. SWI lets you do it once and then you're done. That's really exciting because now we're seeing a lot of aggregators built in an ecosystem that allows you to do a trade but get the optimal transaction execution and best price across all number of dexes at the same time.
Also, big partnership announcement for Near Protocol. Aether collabing with Near Protocol. Aether becomes the premier compute partner. We talked about Aether in our top altcoin video, top 9 altcoins set to explode in 2025. And the news today is this. Aether Cloud has partnered with Near Protocol.
No. All right, I'm just done. I'm done with them because they're just going to talk about fucking bullshit they're shilling. And yeah, that's that. So let's get into the recap segment of things. Anybody just joining? Bitcoin has just dropped below 68,000.
Bruh.
67,909. Still looks pretty good. We got Ethereum at 2634. Solana 155 bucks. XRP is at 54 cents. ADA is over here at almost 36 cents, actually 35.9. We got LTC again. The ETF should be well, hopefully it gets approved, but it was filed for with what was the company? Canary Capital. So that's the reason Litecoin rather is pumping, and Dogecoin is also pumping. Both, you know, they merge mine with their script miners, so it only makes sense that Dogecoin would rise with it. Let's see, we got anything else jumping out at me? Kaspa at 13.3, not doing very well. I mean, it's just kind of chugging along, to be honest. Near Protocol over here, just under $5, still up 1%. Man, my stream is like glitching, I feel like. Strange. If you guys notice any glitching, please let me know. BNB 601 over here, if anybody's interested in that. We have Bonk up on the day. What do we got? 5% up on the day. Not too bad. Render over here at $5.45. Yeah, Polygon at 37 cents. This Pyth token right here, 36 cents, up 7.84%. Let's see, Crypto Bubbles jumping over here. Nothing really changed. A few other coins popped up. Nero, the first Nero on ETH. If anybody cares, this one's up a little bit, 4.5%. Again, Hex is actually still the biggest earner of the day, 21.9%, ranked 55th. Interesting. Litecoin again, 8% up on the day. Dogecoin up 10.7%, looking very well, 12.5 cents. This Mew coin over here, 8.7% up on the day. Cat in a dog's world, crazy. I don't know, meme coins just going nuts. Popcat's actually down today. Nothing too crazy. Flashbang for you guys that just joined. Over here we got the Fear and Greed index at a 73. Again, this is climbing too fast for my liking. Needs to climb slower, but hopefully we go down a little bit and we don't come up here. Once we get over 75, that's really where I start worrying about it. Turbo broke top 100, by the way. 98th place over here. It's at a penny. If anybody has that, shout out to you. You guys probably made some dough on it. Again, just be careful with meme coins, guys. They go up and they will wreck you. So I don't know what's going to happen with these meme coins, but it seems like they're all pumping pretty good. It's kind of crazy. Let's see what's the year looking like. Yeah, it was at a half a penny and it just jumped up to a penny, a little over a penny. So it just did a 2x in the last like probably 10 days, 12 days. 12 days did a 2x. Nice. Hell yeah. If anybody's got that, get out and take your profits. Don't be greedy. Okay? Moral of the story is don't be greedy, because you'll get burned every single time. Guys, with that being said, I'm gonna get out of here. Hopefully you guys have a great, happy and safe Wednesday. It is hump day. Only a couple more days till the weekend. I'll catch you guys bright and early tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And until then, peace out and have a good day.
If she don't hawk to her, we don't talk to her.
Eat shit, Gary.